And Hayden, who's our other friend that's up there, he has a smaller version of this unit that's designed for RVs, and he didn't buy their solar panels either. He bought a brand called Renology. I was talking to a friend of mine today, actually, that said the best place to buy solar panels for that type of use right now is actually from AliExpress. Apparently, they're hundreds of dollars cheaper through them.
Really? It seems like a bit of a shady investment.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Welcome to Muttering Pines, the show where us city folk try to cowpoke. We drink beer, talk about ATVs, life outside the city, homesteading, entrepreneurship, and ultimately trying to do stuff with our hands.
All right. Hi, guys.
Hi. Oh, hi. How are you?
So this is the latest technical start we've ever had?
Yeah, we're solid 20 minutes behind. That's good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm glad nobody
actually
is watching this.
Nothing to talk about tonight.
Nothing. Good thing
And,
we don't have a guest tonight.
Yeah,
Yes,
that would be
because-
super embarrassing.
Now, here's my question. Do we not have a guest tonight because we don't have people watching the show, or do we not have a guest tonight because people have now watched the show and know that they should not come on?
Oh, it's the
Yes.
paradox.
Both.
It's both.
Call it Schrodinger's guest.
Yeah. Well,
Clever.
so
Clever.
So our listeners are just going to have to deal with the three of us tonight then.
Yeah. What, Scott, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, tonight I've got my favorite, actually. I've got Okamikasu from Old Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful again. Nice.
Yeah. Nice rice lager.
Matt?
Oh, I'm deep into the 7-Up.
Nice. Why not ginger?
Isn't that
ale?
awesome? I don't have any in the house,
No, fair enough.
so close as I can get.
I
What
have.
about you, Scott? That looks pretty delicious.
It does look good. I have PC Pilsner, and then I probably will switch to ginger ale. Because,
Yeah.
Is this what happens when you get old? You start giving up alcohol because of other reasons in life?
Yeah,
No,
because the plague almost took you.
yeah, that's why. Because I got the flu. I got a stomach bug, the flu, and a sinus infection, and it put me out for 2 full weeks. It was fucked. It was like, I've never been so sick in my life. It was like death came for me, and then halfway through just got like distracted and was like, oh, got like a text or something like, don't forget to pick up milk. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, oh, you know what though? If I don't do it, I'm going to forget. Okay, I'll come back. And then just like forgot about me and just left me.
Yeah.
And still has forgotten about you, clearly.
It makes me wonder, like, do you think that's just what like those major diseases and stuff are, is like death comes for the person and then like gets distracted on TikTok and they're left like with their palsy, just like twitching, like, why do I have palsy? And Death's like, TikTok. Oh shit.
TikTok.
Yeah.
I'll come back with you in 40
I'll
years.
come back for you. Yeah.
What do you think
now,
Death
though,
watches
because
on
this-
TikTok? Like, if you flip through Death's feed in TikTok, like, what's Death getting served?
Dad jokes.
Oh, yeah, it's probably dad jokes. You're right.
Yeah.
They're the only ones
probably
that survive.
dad jokes and like fitness fails. Any fail video, I think Death is probably just like just killing himself about it.
He's just got to get over there right away. Actually, maybe that explains why I've seen fail videos where I'm like, how did that person not die? And it's because Death is watching the video, not the event.
Yeah, and it's like, I missed it.
Oh, shit,
What kind
I'm
of-
going to be in
what
so
kind of
much trouble.
Fail, what kind
I
of
was
fail
supposed to be
videos did you get onto? What kind of thread did you start down, Scott? Like the near-death mortality ones? Where you're like, oh, he almost got hit by a car. Oh, and then he got hit by a train. But he bounced.
Man,
Yeah.
some of those fail videos are like, that person should be dead.
Yeah, yeah.
And guarantee,
Well,
I
cheers,
think you're
fellas.
right, Scott. I think that's what happens. I think Death's watching and is like, oh shit. That was- all right. Maybe I'll get the next one.
Well,
Insert racist
so I
joke.
heard tonight's topic is going to be choosing power for your homestead. And because of that, I brought one of our most favorite topics of conversation when we're not recording, which of course is our power bills. And so
did you?
tonight, yeah,
Oh.
I got it just arrived today. I was very excited to find out how much subsidy I'm paying into the Northcott farm.
I must have missed
And
mine
guess
today.
what? The answer is nothing. I finally got it.
You
finally got a
to
no-bill $5 credit for power at the farm. All I had to do was turn off the power box for 4 months and get rid of all the cattle.
So, with the cost of power, is it worth having cows in your land?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's worth having cows on the land.
Financially?
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, they pay way more than it cost me in electricity. Even when my bill was like the stupid bills that I was getting that were like $80 a month or whatever, which I realize if you live in the city, you're like, there are $80 power bills, but that's like a shitload. Because Darren, how much are your power bills?
$40.
Yeah, and what were they more recently than that?
0 or negative.
Yeah, that's
12.
right. And yeah,
I haven't
12.
paid for power up there in 6 months.
Right, and you use it, right? Like all the time, it's on.
Every other weekend we're up there. Every other weekend we're up there running heaters and whatever.
Like you're truly not a
So when
huge
you're
consumer
not
of
there,
power
what
at
is
it.
the power running?
What's that? I don't know, like an alarm clock. Nothing.
So you don't have heat
it's not
tape,
running anything.
you don't have anything like that that's running while you're not there, like your
Oh,
fridge.
heat tape. But heat tape has like what, a 0.0001 kilowatt hour draw.
I don't know.
All depends on how long it is and how cold it is.
So it was fucking freezing. So
And
I,
what about
heat tape.
your fridge? You have a fridge, right?
We shut it down when we leave.
Oh, you do. When you leave,
Yeah.
you shut your fridge off. I see.
Yeah.
Like even the one in the shed.
Yep. Yeah, because if it gets too cold, like below 0, I think it can really mess the fridge up if it's still trying to run.
Ah, I see.
Right? Because it's not heated when we're not there.
Right.
So when the inside of the cabin gets to like minus 20 and the fridge is still running, I think it really buggers the compressor.
I see.
I think.
Gotcha.
I don't know. So we just turn it off.
So I can't believe how much power cows take to draw water up. Like I didn't realize there was that much pull on those pumps that consistently that would be that much of a problem.
Yeah, like a 1 horsepower pump, or even like a 3/4 horsepower pump for that matter, pulls an easy 1,000 watts when it gets going.
Easy.
And like the cows don't really drink that much, truthfully, until about the end of July into August. Then everything up there dries up, and then you start to see like how much a pump really draws because the cows drain that trough once a day. Once they do that, and the pump runs to fill the trough back up, my power bill, I think I've mentioned this before, my power bill is just a proxy for how thirsty cows are up there. And that's, So yeah, they use a lot of energy, but still, like even at the old rate I was getting before I wised up and phoned them and said I needed to get off the like raping me plan or whatever it was called. Before that, the price for electricity was, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Here, drink this. I think the price I was paying per kilowatt was still like, less than 10 cents. And the amount of draw that it was doing on any given month was costing me like $4 to $7. The rest of it was transfer and administration fees. Like the cost of electricity itself is nothing. It's the administrative cost.
Yeah. So if you wanted to homestead, which I think a lot of people do, and this is like the start of our homesteading conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Power. At some point, you're going to need power. Like I think you just generally need power if you're going to homestead anywhere.
I would say it's not
off-grid.
even at some point. I would say you need power, period.
Yeah.
There's the odd person that might be able to live without it, but you're not. There's no internet devices. There's no connectivity. There's no nothing. Those are off grid, out in the middle of somewhere, Alaska,
and no water.
Yeah, you're running oil lanterns and
life is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. Exactly. Like, for us, the main reason that we want power at our cabin is to run the water pump. So we can flush a toilet, fill a sink, wash the dishes, fill a pot and boil macaroni, do all that sort of stuff. And like at our cabin, we don't use electricity for heat and we don't use electricity for cooking because our stove is propane, our furnace is propane, and our water heater
Your
is
furnace
propane.
still
And it's
needs
not
electricity
a water tank.
to turn on.
But that's the thing. So electricity enables all of those things to just start. Like my stove starts because it's electric. My furnace has an electric fan. My water pump is, of course, driven by water. And the pump
You mean
internally
electricity?
in the water heater, because we have...
It's perpetual.
And so without electricity, like basically none of the creature comforts I have work up there.
Yeah. Well, none of the necessities even. Like,
Mm-hmm. Well, it's
Water.
a little different than your place. Like my place is designed around having power. Yours is not designed around having power. You can heat it. You have an outhouse.
yeah. Yeah, we don't have plumbing. So we have an outhouse and we have a wood stove.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we could.
So that I guess the discussion for tonight is how do you get power to your homestead, right? How do you get power out to something remote like that? And I guess that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, and I think there's three main options, really. Like, sure, you could maybe do like that guy down in Crow's Nest and put a fucking windmill on it.
Oh yeah,
But,
yeah. Those things generate a huge amount of power, and especially in the place that he's in. But those things are like enormous.
not sustainable.
No,
So,
no.
I think
and
your
if they
three options-
fail, who can fix them?
Yeah. I think your three options are get power, like on-grid power pole.
Yeah, which is easy. It's easy. You
It's
can
easy,
phone. There
but
are two
it's-
companies you can phone, and they'll just come out and do it.
But it's expensive.
Yeah, it is
If
very.
you're not
very
right on the
expensive.
property line and you got to run power, I think the going rate is about $12,000 a pole.
Yeah, that's right.
So depending on how many poles you got to get in, so you can do that. You can do solar,
Hmm.
and you can do generator.
Right, and you can't do solar by itself. Solar has to have a battery array, or it's not viable either.
Right.
Yeah. So should we talk about grid power first? Because I think grid power, if you've driven around in the country and you're like, why do people always put their house so close to the effing highway? Well, the answer is $12,000 a pole is why they
That's
put it so
exactly
close to
it.
the highway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ours came with it when we bought the place.
Mhm.
But they put that money in. Like there's 8 poles, I think, going into ours because we're basically in the back corner of our quarter section.
Yeah.
Like not near the road at all. Like we're the opposite, almost the opposite corner of the property line where the power comes in. So we're lucky that way, but we also have power poles that run along the forest and that are like, so now you got to maintain power poles or maintain your trees or your deadfall so they're not
Right.
taking out power lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like they take out the fence like once a week. A tree takes out a part of a fence out there.
Yep.
So it's really only a matter of time.
We had a few fall that were, I saw them on the ground and I was like, whoo, that was a close call.
So, what is the maintenance on those? Who pays to fix it?
I have no idea. I'm sure I'll find out sooner than later.
Yeah,
Maybe.
hopefully it's
Yeah.
not you.
I don't think so. Like, I think if a tree comes down on a power line, I think it's like whoever Fortis or whatever will come out. But that said, I don't know. There's probably a bill attached to it.
So grid power is easy, but if it's in the wrong spot, it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's easy. Depends on how rich you are.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But it is convenient once it's hooked up.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is because you can have as much power as you need, right? Like
Pretty much,
you're
yeah.
never going to have to worry about two things drawing more wattage than your power source can handle at the same time, which is the reality of using solar in this situation.
Right. And you have grid power at your lot line
That's right.
for the cattle trough.
Mm-hmm.
but you're not running it to your cabin.
That's correct. I don't run it to my cabin. So our
And you've
cabin right now
purchased
is powered by
solar.
a gas generator.
Right.
That the power source it has right now is a 9,300 watt Canadian Tire Special gas generator. And it works great, but it's the loudest thing in the world because you can hear it at your place at night.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's not efficient.
No, it is surprisingly efficient. I will, for how cheap it was, because it was $1,200. For how cheap it was, we rarely have to fill it up. We don't keep it running all the time, which has its own set of problems. Like we have a holding tank, and so we can flush the toilet at least twice before it drains that holding tank. Although our toilet out there is, and I'm not joking, is a 15-liter flush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know where they got that toilet from, but they haven't made toilets like that since like the early 90s. And this house was built in 2009.
It's for heavy loads, that one.
Yeah, he went hunting for a heavy load toilet. Yeah.
Dropping loads.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a guy who never wanted to deal with a clogged toilet.
So we bought to replace that so we can, enjoy the quiet of nature and flush a toilet at the same time and have lights occasionally. We bought what's called a solar generator. So it's basically a big battery with a computer attached to it, and then a secondary battery underneath to store some additional power. The total power availability of it is about 8,000 watts, and it's capable of surging about 10,000 watts out if you have the right equipment for it. The cool thing about it though is that it uses regular generator plugs. Like it uses a NEMA locking plug, the same that's on any house backup generator. So it's actually meant for home backup. That's its whole purpose. Right. It's for people in Texas that don't have reliable grid power, basically. And so the advantage of that for us is that we can have it running all the time. So we can finally have refrigeration over the summer this year. We won't have to haul food up with us every time. We can have lights at night without waking up your kids. We can, I don't know why we would turn the furnace on because it's hot as Africa out there all the time, but we could do that if we need to. So we'll have power available to us, but charging it then becomes the problem. And this particular set has two inputs for solar panels, which use a type of connector called an MC4. And the MC4 connector is like everything right up to industrial solar panels use that type of connector. And it can take 3,000 watts in, maybe it's 1,800 watts, one of the two anyway. It can take a charge of a couple of thousand watts anyway, while it's operating. And so that balances it out. So you can get continuous power throughout the day. And then when the sun goes down, then the battery will just slowly drain overnight to, run whatever that you're running, which in the summertime for us is basically nothing.
Yeah,
just a little bit of the fridge or toilet flushing.
Right. And now the fridge was the thing I was actually worried about, but I didn't realize this. Fridges are way more energy efficient than I thought. Like it draws only 160 watts. Like it'll stay up and running with just the solar panels. Like it doesn't even need the battery during the day, which was really good because it sounds ridiculous, but refrigeration is actually our biggest inconvenience up there. It means hauling food up every time we go, like condiments and all that kind of stuff, which isn't, it isn't a lot of fun for us.
But if
this, go ahead.
I was going to say, if the fridge and stuff is running off the solar panels during the day, that means they're not charging the battery.
Yeah, they charge the battery because it's only drawing 160 watts or, maybe a couple of hundred watts if it's inefficient. Okay. And at that rate, with just one 350 watt solar panel, the battery will never discharge during the day. And overnight it would take days of darkness before it ran out.
And how many solar panels are you going to get?
I don't know yet. That's a great question. So I haven't purchased them yet. I didn't purchase them from the company I bought the generator kit from, which is called Bluetti. Because I think they're expensive, frankly. And Hayden, who's our other friend that's up there, he has a smaller version of this unit that's designed for RVs, and he didn't buy their solar panels either. He bought a brand called Renology, I was talking to a friend of mine today, actually, that said the best place to buy solar panels for that type of use right now is actually from AliExpress. Apparently, they're hundreds of dollars cheaper through them.
Really? That seems like a bit of a shady investment.
Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah. So I'm gonna try to put 1,200 watts of solar on it this year, which would involve either 3 400 panels or 6 200 panels. And the panels are like, about that big. They're not like the ones out in the field that are like thousands of watts per thing. Yeah. So hopefully that works. So like the big risk we have right now, though, is like we're running still a slightly smaller wattage footprint than that old Briggs and Stratton that the previous owner had. So his what he said to me about the 7,200 watt kicking off worries me a little bit. And it's because of our water pump. And so we had a text exchange about this earlier, Darren, and I've been talking the whole time. I think maybe you should talk a little bit about water pumps and like you don't think about pumps ever until you're out in the country. Like, cause here they're just in your house and they just kind of work. Right.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, like that kind of falls under the whole category of like what we were talking about earlier is like, well, you can go totally off grid, not even solar, right? But like, what do you need electricity for? And I think there's a bunch of different things, honestly. Like, I don't know, if you have tools, even if they're batteries, you got to charge your battery. If you got a ride-on mower, you're going to have to charge your mower battery at some point. Right?
Yeah.
You've got your phone. Like, even if you're doing like not technology while you're out there, there's still stuff that I think, power is either like makes it extremely better or is required. And water is one of them.
Yeah.
So unless you live somewhere where you can collect fresh spring water every day,
in a bucket.
You have to have a well. And a well, you get a pump. And you put the pump down there, and the pump needs power. And like you said, depending on the depth of the well, you're probably running a 3/4, maybe even a 1 horsepower pump, submersible pump. If you want to use it in the winter, then you need to have heat tape running down there, so that your pump line doesn't freeze. And like you said, like the average pump after it gets going probably runs like a 1 horsepower, I think runs about 700 watts or something, 700 to 800 watts.
But Matt taught me a valuable lesson about that, right? And that's that its running wattage is not what you really need to worry about. It's starting wattage.
Which can be upwards of 1,400 for a 1 horsepower.
Right, because it's a two and change amp device, right? And Matt, it's wattage times amperage is your initial draw to get started, right? Is that how it works?
No, not for your surge. Your surge your inrush current is based on the motor itself. That isn't based on power wattage. That's like, as far as I know, it's like a multiplier of the wattage rating of the pump. So like an AC motor will have like something like a 4 times inrush current. So when I blew my power supply, that's when I learned that. And it was the inrush current is so much higher than the running current. So your electronics need to be able to handle that. In normal power supply, that's not a big deal. With your DC, your solar panel thingamajigger, whatever what was the name of it?
It's Blue Yeti.
Blue Yeti.
Can't you remember it?
Oh, I'm so sorry. The Blue Yeti. It's
the Blue Yeti.
The electronics on it, I'm sure, are made for that function, but there's they have a huge ability to overrun their current, and it's without blowing them up. So that's what you need to be careful with, putting those big motors on DC inverter type things.
Right. Yeah. I'm not too worried about that just because of what the battery array was designed for. But in my case, it won't have enough juice to be able to run the pump at the same time some of the other devices are starting up. So like, for example, if the water pump came on at exactly the same time that, say, I don't know, the fridge got plugged back in and the water heater pump came on, that would probably be more than this solar generator can handle right now with the battery array that I have for it, which is one battery. If I buy one more battery, that problem is solved. But I wanted to see if
like that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So you can put
your surge would no longer be like 10,000 and be 12.
No, it actually maxes out at 10. So 10 is its limit, to Matt's point earlier. But it's capable of storing and managing 18,000 watts is the maximum. But you have to have a second unit and like 4 more batteries or something like that. It's way more than I would ever use or need. So we're going to see. We should be able to do most of what we want to do this year with what we've purchased as it is right now. So we'll be able to, run water and have lights and refrigeration and all that sort of stuff. And we might have to occasionally like go flip some breakers in a specific order in the meantime. But yeah.
So then if you're homesteading, if you're doing like proper homesteading, I don't know what proper homesteading is, but homesteading, you're out there, you're on land, you got a structure that you live in, probably running a wood stove. Do you think, like, with the stuff that a standard person who's like full time, like not weekend homesteading, like we do, but like full time homesteading, so you're gonna need like probably irrigation for a garden. You're gonna need your tools. You're gonna need your refrigerator and charging probably like a mower and quad batteries in the winter, whatever. Do you think that they could run off solar?
Oh, well, okay. I mean,
solar alone. Like I got my fridge running, I got my water pump.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with
and
the
then
right,
I go out and I want to fire up my chop saw and
sure. Oh yeah. You could absolutely do that, but you would need an astonishing amount of battery storage to make that work. That's the real truth of it. And
like you wouldn't have an electric log splitter because that would just beat the fuck out of your battery.
Right. Like once you start talking about power use like that, which grid power can just straight deliver to you, no questions asked, you wouldn't even feel it. Like you have no idea that anything is happening. Then you're starting to get the edge of what like a solar system is capable of. And it mostly comes down to batteries. It doesn't really have anything to do with solar at all. It's entirely about how much energy you can keep stored and how much energy you can dissipate out of that battery. And at that point, you're talking about a big, big cost difference. So for me to get 8,000 watts of available energy costs $6,000. Now to run power poles, what's that?
Plus panels.
Yeah. So another $2,000 for panels if I'm being really liberal about it, but it's probably going to be more like one. So you're at $7,000 in equipment. That's still half the cost of a single power pole, right?
Yeah.
So until you're talking about like a $60,000 solar system, solar's even in its current state today, which is like meant for idiots like me who are like do-it-yourselfy, kind of have fun with it as much as it is useful. It's pretty cost effective. Now, if you are talking about what you're talking about, which is like Clarkson farm style homesteading, then it's not viable yet.
Right.
It's, cost wise, it's not viable yet. Although the 18,000 watt system that same company sells, so 2 AC 500s, the like 6 different batteries that you have to buy for it and all that stuff, I think in the end comes out to about $25,000 or $30,000. So it's still half the cost of power poles for my place. But for most people, that would be way more than solar would cost, or way more than grid would cost to get put in.
Well, depending, like if you've got an off-grid cabin, then I guess like you're running power might not even be an option.
When we first started looking into this, though, we went to companies that do solar installations. So we figured that was the only way to do it. We thought, get an electrician, buy solar panels, have them install them on the roof, like do all that stuff would be the thing that we'd have to do. And I found out 2 things. The first thing I found out was the kind of solar system, like batteries plus panels mounted on the roof, set up in your house to like give you effectively grid capability, was about $20,000 or $30,000 for the install, like somewhere in that range. And then you're off grid, like everything's golden. You've got lots of battery juice. Everything's fine. But nobody would come out and do it. And the reason nobody would come in and do it is because they couldn't do grid feedback solar installs, which they get an additional, I think maybe there's a subsidy for it or something, or maybe those are just big jobs that they like to do. They were not interested in doing any off-grid installations at all. There's no money in it for them. And I thought that was really interesting. That was what pushed me down the line of starting to look at these do-it-yourself solutions like what Bluetti sells.
Huh.
With the Bluetti package, could you not purchase 2 or more of the individual packages and segregate your house, your panel into, say, multiple zones of like, this one zone will do my water pump alone, and then the other one will do the remainder of the house?
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. And you know what? You see that actually on farms a lot today. Like when you're driving past and you see a water pump out in the middle of the field that's just got that one like 250 or 350 watt solar panel on it. That's what it's doing, right? They're like just doing like isolated, they're isolating those things. So yeah, you could absolutely do that. It would mean rewiring the house to some extent, which would be okay. I mean, it's not a big deal. The cool thing about these units though, is because they don't use gas, you can put them in your basement and run them. Like as long as they have a wire that goes out to the solar panel, it doesn't matter where they are. They don't generate much heat. They don't have exhaust. They're not noisy. Like you can put them in the kitchen if you want. They're so quiet and like unintrusive that even the huge unit that we bought has 2 wireless chargers built onto the top of it. So you can just plop your phone on it to charge shit. Like
really?
Yeah, they're really like consumer products they're industrial products masquerading as consumer products is what I mean to say. Yeah.
So have you taken possession of this thing yet?
Yeah, it's in my living room. All 800 pounds of it is in my living room right now. Yeah, the 2 units are about 400 pounds a piece. It's fucking awful to move them.
I think the other thing that we haven't talked about yet for power would be winter, right? So for our place, not a big deal because we don't have plumbing. So if it gets minus fucking whatever, gets minus whatever, not a big deal. For your place, like, or any place that has plumbing where you're running water in, you either have to drain your lines every time you use them
with a compressor.
Yeah. Or not use it in the winter, or
which I do.
You have to keep your house at about like 10 to 7 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So throw in some baseboard heaters, which are not great efficiency. And I don't think your solar unit would keep them going over the winter.
No. And so this is where power reliability, this is where solar's limitation comes in, but it's specifically in our climate. It's the worst where we live. Because heating through electricity is hard. Like Matt said, it's expensive. It draws a shitload of wattage. And if you're on grid power, that's no problem. But if you're managing your own power source, like you would be with a solar system, then it just reliability is actually the issue more than anything else. So if you are counting on that power to stop your lines from freezing and it doesn't, you have to redo all your plumbing. All your lines are going to split, and you're going to be into a huge headache. You're going to like water all over everything. It'll be a disaster. So reliable power makes that possible. And I even with the system that we're buying right now, I don't think we'll be able to use it in the winter up there.
No. And so one of the things that we're doing for plumbing, which is not plumbing, this year, is we're going to because we don't even have a sink or anything in there, right? We're putting a sink in.
High tech.
I know. But what I'm doing...
Like, I have an app-controlled battery that powers my house, and Darren's like, I would like a sink.
Put a sink in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a sink in.
You're going to sink some money in?
I'm going to sink some money into a sink.
Let that sink in.
Standard, like little P-trap, and then I'm going to straight pipe it out outside, just into a rain barrel or something. And then under the sink, like in the vanity, I'm going to have an electric water pump and a Culligan bottle. And that water pump will go to the faucet.
Mm-hmm.
So we will go outside, fill our vestibule full of water, stick it under the sink, and then have basically an electric tap.
Right.
And that'll be our sink. And then when we want to winterize, we just unscrew the bottom of that P-trap,
Mm-hmm.
and we're done. Like, that's it. That's all we have to do.
So, what's the faucet that goes on it? Is it
It can just be a regular faucet.
okay?
Think about an RV faucet. It's going to have pretty low flow, low pressure,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
it's still going to flow and it's still going to fill a sink, and you can still rinse dishes and you could drink water out of it.
Do you think that you could get one of those at the source hot water? Because you have grid power, so could you get one of those at the source water heaters?
Yep.
You know, the ones that yeah.
I'm actually going to get one of those this year that runs on propane.
Oh, really? How does that work?
That's what heats it, so it doesn't need power, right? You plug it into propane, you fire it up, you plug your hose in, and then you've got hot water.
They use them for camping. They're like a Coleman brand, usually for like outdoor
really?
showers and stuff.
And that's exactly what we're going to use it for. I'm going to revamp the old outdoor shower. I'm going to have that on there, so you just run the garden hose down there, fire it up, have a shower. Warm shower outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's a slight
Yeah.
breeze, you'll be freezing cold.
Yeah, because I don't even think propane could heat the fucking temperature of that water up. It comes in
No.
like 2 degrees.
Oh yeah. The water from down there is fucking icy. Yeah.
But if I wanted to put a little on-demand hot water pump under the sink, I could and have hot water in there. But
Mhm.
it's right now it's just as easy to fire. Like, we have an electric kettle because we're on the grid.
Yeah.
2 minutes later, you got a kettle full of hot water, dump it in the sink, and you're done.
There's some, there's some stuff that I was like, well, now I'm going to have like electricity out there that I don't have to like run out and like turn on every time I want to do something. And maybe I can get some creature comforts. And so I looked at a couple of things. One of them was a kettle. Those things have a way higher wattage draw than you would suspect. Because they're trying to heat water fast, right? But what blew my head off was those little Nespresso machines, like the little like countertop ones that they sell that take the little tiny pods.
Yeah.
They draw 1,100 watts to heat water.
Jesus.
And Matt's, formula on it, I'm sure it pulls close to 2 when it first clicks on. Like, I was dumbfounded by how much power those things use.
You know, another thing that's going to be a huge draw that we use all the time out there, that's a nice convenience? Slow cooker.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Because when
Yeah.
you're out doing stuff, like you're out quadding, chopping wood, being a man, so just drinking beer and being a shitty parent, you usually forget about cooking dinner. So if you just throw on the slow cooker,
Yeah.
bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. Electricity doesn't we take electricity for granted. You don't really realize it until you have to think about using it. Like, every year we should have to thank it. We should have to go to NMAX and just like go around and like shake people's hands and thank them.
Like, just in my basement where I'm running this computer, monitors, charging a phone. At one point a little while ago, I had a heater going under my desk. My furnace is circulating. My hot water tank is running. And I have like 7 or 8 lights just in the basement. That's
Right,
probably
yeah.
more draw than that your whole place would take on a daily basis. And
Totally.
that's
You
just,
drain
that's
my
just for
battery
me to
in
be
this.
in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would drain my battery right now. Gone.
Well, that's just it. And like that heater's a big one too. Like in the winter, sure, we have a wood stove, but we don't run the wood stove all the time. Like, we fire it up in the morning, get it hot, and then we have a ceramic heater, like an electric heater. and we keep that on, and that keeps it around 19, 18, 16 degrees or whatever, and good enough for during the day, and then come in for dinner and fire up the wood stove again, and then it's warm for nighttime. And it usually heater will maintain it throughout the night until morning again, and that's what we do for winter.
So after spending time at your place, opening that house up in the winter, I cannot believe how long it takes a wood stove to heat a house from minus 20 to plus 20. Like, it's for as much heat is coming out of that thing, it is phenomenal how long it takes. It was like what, 4 hours or something before it got to temperature?
No, it's about two and a half, depending on how cold.
And then it was colder in your house because it was insulated than it was outside.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when we got there, we like fired up the stove, and then we went back outside to warm up, and it was like minus 15 outside.
Yeah. Oh, it was gross inside. Just shivering and quaking, waiting for this firebox of hell, it was burning beautifully, but you could still put your hand on the cast iron because it was still, like, everything was just so cold.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't.
When things get to like minus 20 for a week or 2 weeks, like, that cold is now insulated within the objects, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's like radiant heat, right? Radiant heaters work by heating up the objects, not by heating up the air, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just took that much heat to warm everything else back up.
Exactly.
What you need to do is stick about 40, 50 bee colonies inside your house and let them keep it warm over the winter.
I have about 40 or 50 fly colonies in the walls, I'm sure.
Yeah, wasps. Yeah. Sentient wasps.
Do you think we're going to have a bad year this year or not? Because it's never going to be summer.
No. I'm actually quite worried because if my bees don't get outside soon, they're going to die. And if they go outside now, they're going to die. So,
oh God,
I don't know what we're going to do.
Bees.
Yeah. Are they alive or are they dead? If I just don't check on them. Or like the 2 week forecast doesn't show anything better than 4 degrees? Like, it's
7 Saturday, I think, but yeah, nothing great.
You know what I was thinking though, Matt, when I saw the forecast, I was thinking none of the high temperatures are below zero, and that makes me happy.
Okay, yeah, I will agree with that. It is coming. Did you know that it doesn't get above freezing at night until end of April?
Yes, I did, because last year we went
temperatures
on our trip on April 9th because we're morons and we almost froze to death.
Yes.
Yeah.
I considered cuddling with Jade, you guys.
Dire straits.
You would have been pregnant.
Yeah, probably.
So for homesteading power, generator is not ideal, but like if you have an off-grid cabin and you don't need much, that's probably good.
Oh, well,
solar's good.
We didn't really talk about generators. We should talk about generators for just one sec, though, because I bought the cheapest of generators, and that's why. And I put it in an amphitheater-shaped box and pointed it at your house, and that's part of the reason it's so goddamn loud. But a Honda generator is not a normal generator.
I guess you have a commercial one.
Like, because that's the other way we could have spent $6,000 to power our house. We could have went and bought like a good top of the line Honda backup generator, like a home backup generator that auto starts, that like winds itself down when it's not using any power, so it's ultra fuel efficient, winds itself up when it needs it. Like, we could have done that, and that would have been a really good option, and it would have been an option that like kept us with continuous power while we were at the cabin for very little money, because like gas is pricier than it has been, but it's still fucking cheap, all things considered. But ultimately, you know, we can stack batteries on this to solve the problem, so we decided to go with that. But a Honda generator is a very, very good piece of equipment, and one that we considered.
So with your battery you currently have and the, say, 1 or 2 solar panels, you could run the majority of your house for the majority of the time. And if you needed to fire up chop saws or do something stupid, or you ran out of power and your Ford was found dead on the side of the road and couldn't charge your house, you could still have that as your backup power, even your super loud one. You could charge your batteries, you could run your saws, you could do all the stupid stuff you don't normally do on a daily basis.
Yeah. The great irony of our solar generator is that it has an input for gas generators. So if you have a gas generator, it has like a 30 amp connector that you can plug into that to charge it back up again. So yeah.
So solar power, pretty viable. Probably
Viable,
the best
all
option
you do
for-
is go out to your cabin and read like we do.
Otherwise, get grid power.
Otherwise, just get grid power. Quit fucking around and get grid power.
Yeah, Scott. Jesus.
All right, cool. Yeah, we'll be back with more guests, and hopefully, and we'll keep talking about homesteading.
That's right.
All right.
But until then, Matt,
Keep on chooching.
keep on chooching.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Night, boys.
Night.
Hey, nobody. Don't forget to check out mutteringpines.com for our line of apparel and follow us on social and anywhere you listen to or watch your favorite podcasts. And remember, keep on chooching.